Hey there, synth drones. Today we're going to be talking about Behringer. Are they just a synth cloning company? Hi, I'm Pure Ambient Drone, and this is my channel where I talk about synthesizers. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button and tap that bell. Now, before we get started with today's video, I have an exciting announcement to make, and that is I have my Patreon page ready to go. And it's at patreon.com/pureambientdrone.com, and I'll leave a link in the description and a comment as well. Now, the reason why my Patreon page is so important is because I'm going to be and have already uploaded in-depth videos on the subjects that I talk about here. Now, in particular, I have a series right now uploaded, Why You're Not Making Any Money with Your Music. And that is exclusive to Patreon and my page there, so you might want to be checking that out. In addition to in-depth videos such as my mega tour for my studio for 2019, because I just got that uploaded today as well, you're going to find little incentives like free music from me, right? Early bird listening. You get to hear some of the tracks that I'm working on before I ever release them. I'm going to be doing videos on behind the scenes where I talk about building a track from scratch. I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff over there that I won't be touching over here on this YouTube channel. Now, getting to this tour for 2019, in this video, I'm going to show you my external processor chain that I run all of my synthesizers through before they hit the DAW, and tell you exactly what order everything is flowing through. So be sure to check out my Patreon page if you want some real pure ambient drone in-depth info and some of my secrets. Well, now on with the video. So we're talking about Behringer. Are they just a copycat synth company? Well, the short answer is yes and no. Because they did come out with a Neutron, which is actually a really fresh start for them. Now, some would argue that the DeepMind 12 is not a Juno 106 clone, and I would pretty much say that that is true to a lot of, to a large degree. But now they're coming out with stuff that is deliberately cloning classic gear. And so I'm reading online on some of these videos that I'm watching from Behringer or about Behringer synth. And commenters are saying, you know, yet another copycat synth, blah, blah, blah. And I understand, you know, some people get frustrated because there's nothing new coming out on the markets today. I understand that. But let's just be honest. There's a lot of synthesizer companies that are copying themselves even. Now, I did a video, my last video was on the Korg MicroSampler. And in that video, I talked about how Korg made the Mini-Log, then they made the Mono-Log, then they made the Pro-Log, and now they're making the Mini-Log XD, right? Now, when you say, now couldn't you say that Korg is copying itself? They're just recycling technology and synth design and tweaking it and adding to and subtracting from. And they're coming up with all of these different models to fit different price points, okay? And I'm not bashing Korg for doing that. Actually, it's in some ways it's good, in other ways it's bad. One commenter said on my video that he didn't buy the Mini-Log because he already had the Mono-Log. Okay, and I'm not buying the Mini-Log XD because I own the Mini-Log, right? And that's why I'm not buying the Pro-Log, because I don't think there's enough there to justify the amount of money versus what I've already invested. So there's some good and bad in that, but it doesn't take away the fact that Korg is copying their own synth designs to some degree. Now, Behringer is going back and they're bringing to the table the food that us synth drones have been hollering for a long time. Now, I've read numerous comments on Roland videos. When they release a new product, people say, oh, come on, Roland, bring back the old stuff, and they just haven't done it. They've gone virtual rather than analog, okay? They did that with their SY22 clone, right, when they made their digital version of it. I own the analog I did at one time own the analog version of that, and I thought it sounded far superior to the digital version. But what do I know, right? I could be wrong about that. But to my ears, I enjoyed it more. With that being said, people were wanting Roland to clone their own stuff. So let's take this into context for a moment. Let's say that you have this mega restaurant, okay? And they discontinue your favorite food. Your favorite menu item is gone, and it's gone for 20, 30 years, and you keep begging this restaurant, bring it back, and there's protesters outside the door, bring back the food, bring back the food, and nobody's doing that. And then one day, the little cafe across the street is looking out their window saying, man, everybody wants that dinner plate that this big restaurant is not giving them. And this cafe that's normally into, let's say, breakfast food, they break into the main course business by giving the people who are protesting the big restaurant across the street. This little cafe turns things around, and they start making that dish. They start making that food item. They start bringing that to their menu. And now all of a sudden you have all of these people leaving the big restaurant, and they're going over to the little cafe, and the little cafe starts making more business, more money, and you know what they start doing? They start bringing back more menu items that the big restaurants in the area have discontinued for whatever reasons. Now, I don't see anything wrong with doing that because they're giving the customer what they want. Is it innovative? It is to a degree because the synthesizers of yesterday are gone. And people are looking online to buy these things at hugely inflated prices. Classic vintage gear is only going up. And I've noticed that since Behringer has announced their clones, that's in some cases the classic gear that's being cloned, that's going to be coming out, has hit the market more so now than before at lower prices. Not a whole lot. And when they do, they're swept up really fast, okay? But people know it's coming. Now, when Behringer rolls out their 808s and their 909s, guess who's going to be buying them? Me. Okay, because I think that they're going to do a close enough job that it's going to justify the price tag. What I'm hearing is going to be $299 for an analog drum machine that clones the 808 and the 909. I mean, to me, that's worth $600 of investment for those two drum machines. I think that they're going to come close enough to where it's going to sound absolutely fantastic in a mix. And let's not forget, I've heard this time and time again, I have never owned a real 808 or a real 909 because they cost thousands of dollars. And I don't want to pump out $3,000 or $4,000 for these drum machines when I have, and I'm giving Roland credit here, guys, so you don't think I'm Roland bashing. I have the Roland TR8, which I think sounds absolutely fantastic. But I would really like to have a clone that's analog that comes as close as possible to the original. Now, with that being said, I've heard time and time again that if you were to buy a real 808, a real 909, it won't sound like what you hear on the big hit records that it's been played on. And that's because it really didn't sound that good straight out of the box, that there was a lot of tweaking that had to be done. I don't know that firsthand because I've never got to play with one firsthand, but I'd have to take the word for those who have used it and know what they're talking about, okay? With that being said, Behringer is doing us a service. So if you want to sit there, if somebody wants to sit there and bash them for that purpose, I don't see any purpose in doing so because Behringer is a company. They're here to make money, and they're doing something that synth drones all across the world have been asking them to do, or has been asking the bigger companies to do, and that is to resurrect these classic vintage synthesizers. So yes, on one hand, you could say that Behringer has become a copycat synth company. But on the other hand, you got to ask yourself, what's wrong with that? Because the end result is you get an instrument that you get to play, right? I look at guitars, and I'm a guitar player, and I don't see a whole lot of innovation in guitars. A guitar is a guitar, and there hasn't been too much of a change in the style of guitars in what? Decades, right? You don't hear anybody complaining that guitars kind of look the same. Am I right? I mean, anybody could say that an Epiphone is nothing but a copycat guitar company. They could say that. However, Epiphone has really stepped up their game in the last several years, and they've been making some really great clones of Gibson guitars. And I own 2 Epiphones that are actually quite fantastic guitars. They don't cost as much as a real Gibson, and they probably don't sound as immaculate and as beautiful and as awesome as a Gibson guitar does. But, I don't play enough guitar to really care. Now, when it comes to my synthesizers, I play enough synthesizers to care. And from what I've heard from Behringer, they've got really great quality, because I have bought their synthesizers, and I think that their quality is up there, especially for the price point. And I think their sound is fantastic. I think they're right on it. I think these are pro quality synthesizers that Behringer is pumping out. And I can't speak for the stuff that's upcoming because I haven't had my hands on it, but from what they're doing so far, Behringer has proved to me that I can trust them with my money at the price point that they're asking for. So whether or not they're a copycat synthesizer company at this point is irrelevant to me. I'm a consumer, and I want to consume their products, and that's all that matters to me. So when you read negativity about the fact that they're cloning these synthesizers, kind of rise above that in your mentality and think about whether or not you really want this synthesizer. And if you don't, if it's not for you, then the classic probably isn't for you either. And so it's irrelevant. And if you do want these synthesizers, then more power to Behringer for making them, because, hey, they're bringing to the table something we've been hungry for a long, long time. But anyway, that's my opinion on the situation. How about you guys sharing your opinion in the comments below? As usual, I have to say, you guys are a big, big learning point for me. I learned so much from your comments below, and so does everybody else. And I appreciate you guys leaving comments. And I still want to remind you guys, my Patreon page is at patreon.com/Pure Ambient Drone. Okay, and you can look for that link in the comment section here and in the description. Until next time, keep calm and synth on.